Welcome to the October 28th, 2022 meeting of the St. Lawrence County Industrial Development Agency. I would ask for a call to order.
Sure. Mr. Blevins,
Here.
Mr. Hall,
Here.
Mr. LaBath,
Here.
Mr. McMahon,
Here.
Mr. Morrow,
Here.
Mr. Reagan, Mr. Staples.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum in-house. We will move on.
I can only hear you on the phone.
Public notice was sent out October 21st. Not approval. We have minutes in your packet from November 23rd, 2022. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion to accept first and second. Any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote on them. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. We have a financial report for August and September of 2023.
We do. You'll see on page 4 of your packet, your highlight sheet for your August. A few things to mention is we did the Canton parking lot ceiling. We paid retainer costs and we had costs associated with our trade show to Select USA for 2 staff members. If you flip to page 10 of your packet, that's your September highlight sheet. That shows a multiple project fees incoming of approximately $101,800. You will also see NBRC rail revenue came in and immediately was paid back out because Mohawk Adirondack is doing those expenses and it's a pass-through. Let's see.
Was that for work that was done this year, this spring?
Yes,
Summer, yes. So
yes.
crossings. Okay.
We also had a draw on the North American Forest Group NBRC money to North American Forest Group. Anybody have any specific questions that I can address?
I hear a motion to accept the financial report. So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Financial report is accepted. Previous to this meeting, we had a meeting of the governance committee. I would ask Mr. Hall if you could give us a synopsis of what happened in the governance meeting.
Certainly, we met an hour or so before this meeting. And we reviewed our conflict of interest policy, our procurement policy, investment policy, our harassment policy, and assessment of effectiveness of internal controls. Our conflict of interest, after comparing our existing policy to the ABO's model policy, we didn't find any changes needed at this time. The procurement policy, last year, we had increased guidelines to be more consistent with the threshold levels of increasing purchasing amounts. And after comparing that policy to the ABO model, we see no changes for need in that. No changes needed in that policy at this time. The investment policy, we compared with the ABO model and no changes are needed there, along with the harassment policy. The assessment of effectiveness of internal controls, we compared those with the ABO model and no changes are needed at this time. And that concludes the.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for the governance committee, in particular, Mr. Hall?
Just one question on the purchases. What was the high number, or what's the number for purchases that do not need our approval?
I believe it was $5,000.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I thought it was. I just was, thank you.
And along with that, I mentioned that those policies that you reviewed and I believe you just mentioned remain essentially the same following ABO guidelines from last year.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, you did.
Therefore, when we do those resolutions, it's okay if you want to do them separately. If you want to do them as a consent, we can approve them all at that time too. But that's up to you, whoever brings the resolution forward.
Consent.
Mr. Staples, did you have anything?
I do them by consent. That would be rational.
And can I, a point of clarification, 5,000 is with the, with our approval at the executive level. 15,000 and higher requires board approval.
Correct.
In between requires 3 written quotes.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Good.
And along with that, as long as you're speaking, Mr. Kelly, would you give us some staff report?
I will. We participated in tours at Corning and at Fort Tribute at the St. Lawrence Power and Equipment Museum. The tour with the fort was together with members of the River Valley Redevelopment Agency. Just continuing to try as organizations or employers that we have done projects with or we've helped in some way are reaching out to us and saying, we'd like to have you. We're widening the net to involve board members, legislators, other interested parties. So we may be doing more of those kind of activities going forward. The ARPA funding, we provided the first round of funds that you had approved at our last meeting. We've additionally provided 4 commercial driver scholarship awards in the amount of $23,250. We have accepted the latest round of applications. We're doing internal review, and the goal will be to set up a meeting in the first half of November for your review and approval of the next round of awards. I anticipate we'll do a future round, as we had talked about, doing these on a monthly or near monthly basis. Manufacturing Day was October 14th. We participated with SciTech, our local manufacturing extension partnership, as well as with Arconic, MedEng, Potsdam Specialty Papers, and Structural Wood, coordinating and helping host visits of local high school students to these facilities so they can see firsthand manufacturing opportunities and operations here in the county. Connexus is undertaking its move into the 100 Patterson Street facility. That appears to be going well. We're identifying different issues with infrastructure that we knew we'd have to address as we had a tenant in the building. The running of gas lines, gas meters, making sure that our infrastructure systems match the space being rented by the tenant. So we're working on that, and we'll have some work ahead of us as we implement the right matching system. From a marketing perspective, we are continuing our Comeback Here advertisements. We're sponsoring we talked about this before, the Clarkson and St. Lawrence hockey broadcasts. We're also getting some extra spillover coverage on the local high school sports coverage. The St. Lawrence ad is also being played in the middle of local high school games, which is we've gotten some response from that. So it's good to see people are listening. Trade shows, we are attending the Select USA Toronto event in November. We are also attending the PACX trade show in Montreal in November. We went to Washington, DC for the Select USA United States event, and we were in Montreal in June as well. We are also, we've submitted a grant application to Empire State Development through their Global New York program for marketing activities we want to undertake the end of this year and into next year. As you may recall, we historically try to leverage the marketing dollars that you allocate with outside sources. We've done National Grid programs before. We are applying for approximately $71,000 project, where hopefully the Empire State Development will provide us about $50,000 for future trade show attendance, lead generation and representation in Canadian markets. Things are getting busy. We've got a lot of project activity as we continue in an uncertain economy. We don't want to take our foot off the gas. We want to keep getting the message out there, keep promoting, and hopefully this will enable us to do that at an even greater level than we have been.
Patrick, when you go to Toronto, that's a trade show in November?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Tim,
Yes,
listen, I can only hear it over the phone. As long as you got a quorum, I'll let everybody go and have a good time.
okay, Ernie,
Thank you.
I'm
Have a good
sorry,
that's okay.
because I was looking forward to it.
let me take.
Just a minute, Kim. She want my Robin.
Okay, yeah, if Robin can,
Your dad, push,
I did everything.
push cancel again. Let me see. Push right here. It
So we
says- it
are,
says volume. Is the only
um,
thing that you can't see.
How many
Is that
leads
it?
would be there?
Okay,
How
hold on.
many
Go up again.
leads would be
Your
considered
volume might be
successful?
up.
that is a
Mom,
business
where's the
matching
button?
event
Trying to
set up by the
see. Unmute.
Department
Right here,
of
you're on mute.
Commercial Services, the
Click here.
US.
Okay,
Okay.
There's typically
Probably had-
dozens to 100 or so participants. They're
I'm
world.
gonna have to let you go, guys.
okay, thanks, Ernie.
okay,
I'm gonna have,
Ernie.
I'm gonna have to let you go, okay?
Okay, thanks.
I just
Talk to you
interrupted
later.
your meeting. Have a good time.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, she said I might have trouble.
So typically it's, a trade show event would be, 100 or 200 exhibitors plus in the thousands of attendees. That's PACX in Montreal will be more on that scale. The Select USA events are more, there is a forum where you have the exhibitor booths and there's general discussion, but there's also matchmaker events where you'll have a company from Brazil that says we're interested in being in the Northeast. And then you try to book the conversation with them there and then afterwards as well.
Okay,
Just point out unemployment rate is 3.4%. Our employed population is 41,500 with unemployed of about 1,500. Again, low unemployment rate, but we have a low, that's a total labor force number that's still 15 or 16% below what it was 10 or 15 years ago. That is it for your staff report.
All right. No further questions for Mr. Kelly or his staff. We'll go on to old business. We have none. New business, we have 8 resolutions. The first 5, as I previously mentioned, were the annual review.
I would make a motion that we deal with the first 5 as a consent resolution.
second.
And seconded by Mr. Morrow. Any discussion on the annual review further than what we've had? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. First 5 resolutions are now passed by the IDA. Next resolution is adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2023.
I'll make a motion to
Ready to
approve
vote?
and bring it to the floor.
Okay,
I will second.
Second.
all right, discussion.
So we have your final budget here. We did go through the draft budget and relook at all of the numbers. There were very few changes. There was a change to your Canton Industrial Building revenue because of Michael's opted into the option 2 for their lease, so that only puts them through to June, so that reduced your revenue expected. We'll see what happens with that going forward. We can always do a modification if needed. Other than that, that was really the only notable change in the IDA. Any specific questions I can answer?
Just clarifications on the ARPA funding.
Yes.
Because it is new. The 3.3 million, is that the entire St. Lawrence County amount that's coming through us?
Yes,
Okay, and then when it says workforce training and development, is that funds that we are handling or?
yes, these are all going to go somehow through the IDA.
But do we have say on how they get spent?
Patrick? I believe we do have decision-making on most of
Yes.
them.
Yes. Okay. That was, we spelled out the guidelines, the programs with so much specificity at the outset, so we wouldn't have to require follow-on approval.
All right, it just new, I want to make sure everybody got that. Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting the final fiscal year 2023 budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, the ayes have it, and the budget is approved. Next resolution is authorizing standard workday reporting resolution. 46, 47. Need a motion.
I'll bring the motion to consider.
First and a second, Any discussion?
We provide a workday resolution every year. This one covers the staff members. The first portion is for the officers. That's Kim and I, 7-hour workday. As you recall, there's additional work beyond that for the local development corporations, but from the IDA, 7-hour workday. And then the other job titles are all included as well. There's no question or uncertainty. And it's broken down per the instructions between officers and non-officer staff.
No further discussion. All in favor of approving the standard workday reporting resolution, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Nay. The ayes have it. Resolution is approved. Lastly, we have a resolution for St. Lawrence County SUDS, that would be SUDS LLC. I would entertain a motion to bring that for discussion.
So moved. Second.
It is now on the floor for discussion. SUDS. The main sounds like beer. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, it is. This is the Bent Bean Brewery, SL St. Lawrence Suds is the corporate entity name. You've heard talk and there's been stories about the proposed reuse of the furniture barn here on Main Street in Canton as a brew pub. This is that project. The Village of Canton submitted a Restore New York application for the rehabilitation and complete build out, if approved, of a brew pub with a restaurant component. We have worked with the applicant to isolate the envelope of the structure and the specific portions for manufacturing, not any retail or future retail space. It's meant more for within the manufacturing context and food production of what industrial development agencies are able to do. So there's a total for you. If you read total project numbers that are different from our project numbers, that is why we have removed out from project consideration those aspects of the project that would be more specific to retail dining or retail imbibing thinking, I guess, yes. And the benefited project amount of Exhibit A has the specific details. The total amount of this project, $780,000. The benefited project amount, that's where the sales tax exemption come into place, $242,000 for an estimated value of about $19,400, plus a mortgage recording tax exemption based on that as well. Provides a total benefit of $21,000 in that neighborhood. On the cost benefit analysis, I'll highlight, everybody has that. The numbers are consistent in the cost benefit analysis. Since this is the brewing portion, there's a number of part-time jobs that are contemplated. This is also based on the initial work that they would be doing this fall and into next year to get the overall structure in place. So final project numbers, what are not included are anything to do with serving or again, the non-manufacturing aspects of the project. I'll point out the project supports regional tourism, wine and beer trail development, rehabilitation of an underused vacant property. They're building 2 electric charger stations. I think that's mandated by the local planning process. But within our comprehensive economic development strategy, the project supports the following either action steps or objectives. Encourage and working with entrepreneurs and businesses that can supply products and services which give county residents a locally produced option. Redeveloping unused or underutilized commercial and manufacturing properties and assisting existing manufacturers and related businesses to modernize and expand. Obviously with the reuse of that barn, that hits that one. Assisting in the development of more vibrant and attractive downtown and gateway locations within communities. And also collaborating closely with local existing economic development organizations. I mentioned that the Village of Canton is considering a Restore New York application. They're working with the Village Economic Development Office and have been for some time on the project. And finally, manufacturing and food processing are both key sectors of the county as identified in comprehensive economic development strategy. And this project, this is kind of a crossover into both sectors.
Excellent. Any questions? Thirty resolutions? Hearing none, I will call the resolution to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Resolution is passed. Do we have need for executive session?
We do not.
Lastly. A motion to adjourn. So moved. We're adjourned from the IDA meeting and we'll move on to. Are you ready? Rick?